Good afternoon.
All right.
You guys hear me now? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
We're good. We're good, Coach. Thank you for joining us today. I know you have a really busy schedule, so we appreciate it. We're gonna dive right into questions, and we're gonna start with Justin Rose at WXYZ in Detroit.
Coach, good afternoon to you. Like the specs there, those new?
Yeah, well, I usually wear a contact in my right eye, but this morning I've got the frames on, but I'm actually going to be going to the contact pretty soon because, as you know, right now there's no one in my office, and so I don't have to wear a mask right now. But as soon as I put the mask on, those bad boys start fogging up, and
It's a hazard.
it's an issue. So I will be slapping that contact in here pretty soon.
Well, we'll get started. 2.5 weeks away from gameplay. It almost seems like it's been an eternity since fans have seen Michigan State football on the field. Are you starting to sense that it's ramping up to being really real, even more so for you? I know you guys have been working, obviously, but here it comes.
Yeah, it is becoming more real every day, and which is a good thing. I mean, we've been waiting a long time for this opportunity, and so we're just making the most of it every day, and just embracing the challenges that we have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next, we'll go to Chris Solari with the Detroit Free Press.
Good to see you, Mel. I saw you guys were doing some work at the stadium, and you had mentioned the other day that you were planning on doing a scrimmage. Were you able to get anything live in terms of a scrimmage? And I guess, where do you feel coming out of even whatever work you did in the stadium how did the team benefit from that?
Yeah, we were able to get some live work in a scrimmage setting, and I was very pleased. Obviously, a scrimmage is a different type of evaluation than just a normal practice when you're not tackling live to the ground. And so you just find out a little bit more about each player in that situation, in the stadium. And that was actually the first time as a staff that we've seen our guys go live, full speed to the ground in a scrimmage. So it was beneficial for the players and also for the staff.
As a quick follow, what day did you guys do that?
We did that on Saturday.
And when do you plan on doing a second one, or do you still think maybe you can get a third?
We'd love to get a second one in, and hopefully this weekend we can get that done.
Thanks, Mel.
You're welcome.
Next question is from Matt Wenzel with MLive.
Hi, Mel. Real quick, last time we talked to you, you said you thought the opt-in, opt-out situation would be settled pretty quickly. Jacob and Marcel had obviously said that they are going to play. I was wondering about Jordan Reed and Justin Stevens, if they are still planning on sitting out, or if they intend, or if there's anybody else additionally that plans on sitting out.
As of right now, those two have they're still opted out. And obviously, like I've said before, we're supporting our players in their decisions to be in or to opt out, and then we'll just see how it continues to play out.
And a follow-up, today will be 1 week in the pads. I know you talked about the scrimmage, but I guess what are maybe some of the things that you have stood out the most in the last week since you guys made that transition?
I like the way our players are buying in to our system and to our culture and how we do things. Also, I'm very pleased with our coaching staff. Coming together, relatively for the first time on the field on a consistent basis, and how we're working together with our players, along with our strength staff and all of our support people. So I feel very confident about our operation our process. We're very process driven, and it's unfolding, right before our eyes, and we're working hard at it every day to cement our culture, continue to drive home our process. But I do see significant buy-in from our players in terms of what we're asking them to do, and that is very, very positive.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next question is from Lindsey Huddleston.
Hey, Mel, I feel you with the glasses. I got the foggy situation too. When you put that contact back in, I hope you don't get nauseous. That's the problem I've been having. Tradition versus trend. We're at that point where it seems real. You're going to be playing football. When you think back over your coaching career, what have been some traditional things that have always been able to work for you coaching these young people? But what are some new trend type 2020 things that you have to implement to have effectiveness as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. The game of football over the years has changed in a lot of ways in terms of offensive schemes, defensive schemes, and just kind of what it looks like, and some of the things that happen on the field in terms of when guys get takeaways, and how they're being rewarded and how that's being celebrated. But at the end of the day, the game of football is fundamentally the same. It's being best condition, it's technique and fundamentals, playing smart, it's playing fast, and it's being physical. And that's where our focus is. That's where our focus is right now, and we'll continue to be that way. And then as we connect more with our players, and our players learn more about us, and the individual personalities start to emerge more, then that will also somewhat define the character of our team. And the key to it is that we have to always put the team first, and we want our players and all of our coaches to embrace the buy-in to something that's bigger than themselves. And that's what's most important, because that's part of our process to get the buy-in, to preach team, to develop the chemistry, buy into the common goal, and just really be able to demonstrate on a day-to-day basis, what our standards of performance are. And with that getting done, that's the brand of football that you'll see. That's how you develop the brand of ball that we'll see on Saturdays. And so that's where our main focus is right now.
Got it. Thank you, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Next question is from Audrey Dahlgren with WLNS.
Hi, I have those same glasses. So anyway, I wanted to get your assessment of the quarterback situation, just because Coach Johnson, we spoke with him last week about it, and he said that each guy was getting about equal reps in practice. And so where do you see the quarterbacks right now?
Yeah, and we're still doing that. We're still in that process of rotating our guys, equal amount of reps. They're working with different groups, and we're still right in the middle of the evaluation process. I will say this, that all of our quarterbacks, they bring a different set of skills and different traits to the table, and it's very interesting to see. The competition is good. We have a good room in that quarterback room. Coach Johnson is doing an outstanding job with them, and there's good working relationships and a good healthy competition, and everyone's trying to help each other get better. And so I feel very good about how we're handling that quarterback situation. But it's still we're still in competition mode, and things have not completely shaken out yet.
If I could just have a quick follow-up to that, as you are 2 weeks out from the opener, what side of the ball is maybe farther along than the other, or just your initial impression of maybe if defense is, like I said, further along, or offense, or is it your special teams?
Yeah, that's a great question, because you'll hear that sometimes where a coach will say that right now our defense is further ahead, maybe because of guys returning or returning starters and or things like that, or the offense is ahead. But right now in practice, our guys are competing good on good, every day, and there's a lot of back and forth in our practices, which is a good thing. Some of the drills, the offense wins, and some of the drills, the defense wins, and it goes back and forth, and it's very competitive. And that's what we want to see, and that's how it should be. But collectively, offense, defense, special teams, we're just looking for daily improvement, in our conditioning, our technique and fundamentals, playing smart, finding ways to put our guys in position where they can play fast, and obviously we need to be physical, and that's all part of the process. And the goal is that we'll be efficient and be able to produce at a high level in all three phases when it's time to play the games.
Thank you, Mel.
You're welcome.
Next question is from Stephen Brooks with 24/7 Sports.
Hey, Mel, thanks for doing this. First, just wanted to ask, how is the daily testing going since you guys started about a week ago? And more importantly, with it being so delicate and the time that somebody would have to sit out and things like that, how does that sort of shape how you approach building depth and the preseason in general, splitting reps up, knowing, if you lose a guy, it's, I think, 21 days or whatever. Does that change about how you approach, building depth with these guys?
The testing is going well, and we're very fortunate here in the Big Ten, and the way the testing has been set up, and we have very good rapport with the companies that are involved here on campus daily. They're here every day. They see us every morning, and we're getting a chance to know them, and they're getting a chance to know us, and it's almost like they become part of our support staff, and it's going to be like that for quite some time. And so that working relationship, the mutual respect, and they bring a tremendous amount of professionalism to what they do in terms of the testing, the protocols, and the staffing. And so it's gone relatively smoothly. We've talked as a staff from early on that we were going to need to develop the entire roster this season. All scholarship players, walk-ons, everyone's going to have to be developed in some way, shape, or form to be able to, at some point, go in a game and play winning football for us if their number is called. And so, that's what, that's our philosophy, is develop every player on our roster to put them in a position where they can be successful if and when they need to go in the game.
Does that take a little creativity in a year like this where you do have a shortened window, just a little more thinking has to go into all that?
Well, it's I think COVID has added in all of our lives in every way, just different levels of complexity, so to speak. And so we're handling it, staying neutral. It is what are the facts? What do we know? And then what do we need to do with the information that we have? Not get too high, not get too low, and take it one day at a time. And so where we need to adapt and make adjustments as a staff, we do that. And the same thing with the players. And we also continue to hammer our protocols and our behavior modification and all those things that will allow us to continue to practice and eventually compete in games.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Next question is from Matt Charbonneau with the Detroit News.
Hey, Mel, following a little bit off that too, I think Coach Johnson mentioned last week a little bit of getting guys to learn other positions, cross-training. I think he described it as just because you never know with this where you're going to be short. Maybe some guys can play multiple spots if you need them. Has that happened a little bit more, probably a little bit more than you've had in the past, where guys are learning different spots because of this?
Yeah, at some point, we're going to be doing some level of cross-training, even across the size of the ball. But certainly the cross-training within the position group is happening now, making sure guys can play multiple positions within their segment, whether it's the secondary or the offensive line or receiver, the receiver position. You know, if guys know multiple positions, then you have more flexibility, and are you able to better handle injuries or anything that may be COVID related.
The other thing I want to ask you about quick real too is leadership. How important is having veteran guys, maybe a guy like Antoine Simmons, guys like that, when you're in a coaching change like this and just with everything, how different this year has been, how important are guys like that? Maybe there's some other guys' names I'm not bringing up that kind of make this a little bit easier for everyone in this transition.
Yeah, leadership is important on all the great teams. You will find great leadership, and when you have that, it does go a long way to helping to develop the rest of the team. And so, Antoine, for example, is a leader. You brought his name up. He is a leader. He's bought into what we're doing, and then he's preaching and carrying the message to his teammates, and that's very, very helpful. And oftentimes a word or a message or a conversation from a teammate or from a peer may be as impactful or more impactful than that same type of conversation coming from a coach. And so, developing leadership, putting guys in position to lead is very important. That's going to be very important to our success. I do see a large number, a high percentage of guys that are bought into what we're doing, and I do see leadership emerging, especially as the practices get tougher. That's when the leaders really start to step up.
Thanks, Mel.
We have time for a few more questions. We'll go to Rainer Saban of the Detroit Free Press.
Hi, Mel. You talk about developing players. Are you looking for a specific type of player and trying to kind of get the player to kind of fit a certain profile on the roster? And is that through strength and conditioning primarily to kind of get it's like you want a faster team or a stronger team? How do you classify the development, I guess?
Yeah, the development takes place in many different ways. It takes place, off the field in terms of, socially, in terms of academics. And Darren Harris, our director of player engagement, does a great job with our players, helping them to develop off the field, as well as, Todd and Mandy and Antoine and academics. There's development that takes place there. There's also development that takes place in the classroom with the coaches and the meetings. Reviewing film and teaching guys the scheme and how to study and how to take notes, and that's development. And then in the weight room, development in terms of developing a faster, stronger, more explosive athlete. they can sustain and play hard for fourth quarters or more if needed. And then also the development on the field, with the work that we're getting in practice, with the reps that they're taking, with the drill work, individual drill work, the group work, the team work, and then ultimately the scrimmages. It's all a developmental process, and we're very process driven here. And so, a coach's job is to teach, motivate, and develop players. And I've been very pleased with our staff. That I feel like, and I believe that our staff is able to do that at a high level.
And just to follow up, how important was Jeff Markson in that process of when you brought him along? How quickly did you make the move to kind of add him to the staff? Obviously from Colorado, and then also just him having kind of an idea of what you wanted. How important was it to have a guy like that in the fold and kind of be able to carry out the program in the way that you saw fit?
Yeah, it's very important. Jeff's done a great job. Like you said, he's worked with me before. He knows what my expectations are in terms of recruiting and staff dynamics and staff chemistry and just culture. And culture is really big with me. And he understands the process, and so he's able to work with me, and also work with our staff to make sure that we have an efficient operation here, that we're process driven, and that we're always hammering culture. And he just does a phenomenal job with that. And I feel very fortunate to have him here.
Thanks.
Next question, we'll go to Seth Wells with WILX.
Hey, Mel, I'm not sure how much you knew Father Jake Foglio, but I know a lot of people in the Michigan State football program knew him very well. I was wondering, I guess, first, how much did you know him? And if so, did you have any thoughts or feelings when you learned of his passing?
Yeah, I did not know him very well. But I was made aware of his passing, and obviously, I was saddened by that. And my condolences go out to his family, thoughts and prayers, and hopefully, that they will be able to heal and deal with this the best way that they can, and any support that we can give them here at Michigan State football, we will do that. It's always difficult when you lose someone that's been an integral part of your program for so many years, and you can see that reflected in some of the social media posts from coaches and players that have interacted with him over the years. So obviously, that's a loss to our community, and I was saddened by that, certainly.
We have time for just a couple more. We'll go back to Justin Rose at WXYZ.
Coach, when will you start game prep for Rutgers, or is that already started?
Yeah, well, there's certain stages of game prep, but right now we're really focused on our team and our players, but certainly game week will be all Rutgers, and typically the last 3 days prior to game week we'll turn our attention to our opponent. So that pivot is coming soon.
And then last real quick one I have for you is, outside expectations, whether you know what they are for you guys or not, do you ever use those to an advantage or disadvantage, or do you just ignore that kind of stuff?
Well, I mean, pressure is a privilege in my mind. And so the expectations are high here. They always have been. And, I embrace that. But, we're really focused on the process, the day-to-day process in terms of developing our team, developing our culture, connecting with our players, and hammering that process and working that process daily. And then doing that will put us in a position to have success, in games, and really, rise up and fulfill the expectations that we all have. And so, we just make sure that we don't get too far ahead of ourselves in terms of our thought process. We talk to our players about then, now, and next. And right now, we're in the now. And what we do now will determine what we do next. But we're in the now.
Last two questions. We'll go to Chris Solar from the Detroit Free Press, and we'll wrap it up with Matt Wenzel with MLive. Chris?
I know that with a new staff, you got to go through the evaluation process. You had a really atypical year, but coming this close to game week, how much right now are you erring on the side of maybe speaking in generalities to not tip your hand, and how much of it is based on still kind of figuring things out with who might that starting group be?
We're still evaluating our players. We have more of a rep chart than a depth chart right now, and there's a difference because we are rotating our guys and giving guys opportunities to work with other players, and so that evaluation is ongoing, and we're right in the middle of it. And at some point, we're going to make decisions on who the starters are going to be and who the next man up is going to the next man up we're going to be. But in actuality, that's also not set in stone because you have to compete to play. You have to compete in practice, and you to earn the playing time that you get. That's each and every day, and there's never going to be a moment where a player, has a position and he does not have to compete and fight to maintain that position, on a daily basis. That's just not how we operate. And so, it's going to be always going to be very competitive. And we're going to play the best players, the guys that give us the best chance to be successful. But also, we're going to continue to develop the guys behind them. And at some point in the season, you still may see changes in who you see on the field based upon what production guys are having in games and what guys are doing in practice, because we try to create a practice atmosphere that is the goal is to have your practices harder than your games. That's your goal, to get to the point where you can do that. So if a guy can do it in practice against good players in practice, then he can do it in the game. So as guys emerge and develop in practice, whether they're younger guys or maybe guys coming off of an injury or whatever, that may change, who you actually see, playing in the games.
As a follow to that, specifically just for week one, do you have a set date where that rep chart flips back to a depth chart, or does it have to happen organically for you guys?
Yeah, when we get into game week, we're going to have to decide, who gets the reps, and then we're going to have to develop scout teams, and then at that point, as we decide who's going to be on the scout team, and then who we're going to dedicate the lion's share of the reps to, then that really at that point starts to form the depth chart. And but the actual date right now is to be determined. When those announcements may come, and we'll just have to see, how those shake out.
Thanks, Mel.
You're welcome.
Next question is from Matt Wenzel with MLive.
Mel, you touched on this earlier, obviously saying the quarterback competition is ongoing, and Jay last week said he'd like to get it settled before, obviously, the season starts, but he could see it being possible going into the season. I was wondering from all your experience coaching, granted mostly on the defensive side of the ball, but being on teams where you've had either a set quarterback or there's been a competition that's lingered, what kind of difference that makes team-wise going into the season? How you see the difference in that?
It depends on the team. It depends on the players involved, and it also the coaches, the head coach and the coordinators and the position coaches. How that process is managed has a lot to do with how successful you are. And so I'm very confident in our staff and our staff's ability to evaluate and communicate, with our players to let them know, where they stand each and every day, and then always providing a plan or laying out a path forward for them to improve and maybe improve their position. And like I told the players, after the scrimmage, if you're not where you want to be right now, then change your behavior. Your behavior will determine, how you perform. And if you are happy with where you are right now, and you understand what's working for you, and continue to do those things, but then figure out what do I need to do to take it up a notch or two. And that's how it's going to be. That's how it's going to be all year, all season, and that's how it's going to be in the out of season. Every day is that are you getting better or are you getting worse? And then it's our job to help our players, navigate that.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining, everybody. That's all the time we have. Thank you, Coach, for joining us.
Thank you so much again. I really appreciate you what you do for us and getting our message out to our fans, and I know that they're hungry for information. And so right now, you guys are the vehicle to get the word out of what's going on in the program, and we can't have the type of program that we want to have without your help and support. And so we really respect and appreciate what you do on a day-to-day basis, and thank you for investing the time with me today. Go Green.
Thanks, Mel.
Thanks, Mel.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Mel.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Ben.